I thought I rented a peaceful cottage. Turns out, I rented the front half of a Cartel stash house. The listing had been perfect. Secluded. Peaceful. Your own private sanctuary. That's what the Airbnb description promised, and that's exactly what I needed after the week I'd had. My job as a crisis PR manager meant my life was a constant barrage of screaming clients and ringing phones, so when I saw the photos of the charming, ivy-covered cottage nestled in the woods, I booked it instantly. I didn't care about the price. I cared about the silence. I arrived on Friday afternoon, the gravel crunching under my tires as I pulled up to the house. It was even better than the pictures. No neighbors. No noise. Just trees and the promise of 3 days without human contact. I unlocked the front door with the keypad code the host, a guy named Mr. Black, had sent me. The interior was cozy, filled with antique furniture and heavy velvet curtains. I dropped my bags in the living room and exhaled, feeling the tension in my shoulders finally start to loosen. Perfect, I whispered to the empty room. I poured myself a glass of wine and started unpacking. I was humming along to the silence, enjoying the solitude. Then, I heard it. At first, it was just a faint vibration. A low, rhythmic thrum that seemed to be coming from the walls. I paused, wine glass halfway to my mouth. Plumbing? Maybe the pipes were old. But then the sound changed. It became mechanical. A grinding, metallic rattle. Clack clack clack. I set my glass down. The sound was coming from the massive, floor-to-ceiling bookshelf on the far wall of the living room. The shelves were packed with old encyclopedias and dusty novels. I watched, frozen, as the books began to shake. Not slightly. Violently. A vase on the top shelf wobbled and fell, shattering on the hardwood floor. Crash. Hello? I called out, my voice trembling. Is anyone there? Silence. Then, with a groan of hidden hinges, the entire bookshelf swung inward. It wasn't a piece of furniture. It was a door. A massive, hidden door disguised as a library wall. I backed away, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I grabbed a heavy brass candlestick from the side table, holding it like a club. A figure stepped out from the darkness behind the shelves. It wasn't a monster. It wasn't a ghost. It was a man. He was soaking wet, wearing nothing but a white towel wrapped around his waist. He was holding a toothbrush in one hand and a tube of toothpaste in the other. He had shaving cream on his face. He looked up. He saw me. He saw the candlestick. His eyes went wide. He dropped the toothbrush. He screamed. I screamed back. We stood there for a solid 5 seconds, just screaming at each other in the middle of the living room, two strangers caught in a glitch in the matrix. Who are you? He yelled, clutching his towel. What are you doing in my house? Your house? I shouted, brandishing the candlestick. This is my rental. Who are you? Are you a burglar? A squatter? I'm a guest, he stammered, backing up toward the dark opening. I rented this place on Airbnb. I'm staying in the master suite. I rented the entire house. I countered, stepping forward. Look at the listing. Private standalone property. So did I, he insisted. I have the confirmation email right here. Well, it's in the bedroom. Let me get my phone. He disappeared back into the darkness. I stood there, shaking, wondering if I should run or wait. My curiosity won. He came back a minute later, wearing a robe and holding his phone. He thrust it toward me. Look, he said, his hand trembling. Booking confirmation. February 27th to March 1st. Entire home. I pulled out my phone. I showed him mine. Booking confirmation. February 27th to March 1st. Entire home. We stared at each other. Then we looked at the bookshelf. He split it, the man whispered. the landlord. He split the house in half. We walked through the opening. On the other side was a mirror image of the living room I was just in. A bedroom, a bathroom, a kitchenette. The landlord had taken a large house, built a wall down the middle, and installed a hidden door to connect them, probably for maintenance or cleaning. But he was renting both sides as exclusive entire properties to double his profit. He lied to us, I said, feeling the anger replace the fear. He told me I was alone. He told you that you were alone. We've been living inches apart, the man said, looking at the wall. I heard you walking around. I thought it was the wind. I thought the plumbing was bad, I admitted. We introduced ourselves. His name was Mark. He was a software engineer from the city. He looked harmless, just wet and confused. We should call Airbnb, Mark said. Get a refund. Get out of here. Definitely, I agreed. This is creepy. And illegal. You can't double book a property like this. But as we turned to leave the hidden hallway, Mark stopped. He was looking at the wall in the foyer area between the two spaces. There was another bookshelf. It looked identical to the first one. Symmetrical. Too symmetrical. Do you think? Mark trailed off. He walked over to it. He pressed on the side panel, just like the other one. Click. A latch disengaged. The second bookshelf swung open. The air that drifted out of the hidden room was stale, smelling of gun oil and cold metal. It was pitch black inside. Mark pulled out his phone and turned on the flashlight. He swept the beam across the space. It was a small room, maybe 10 by 10, windowless and soundproofed with heavy foam panels stapled to the walls. Oh my God, Mark whispered. I peered over his shoulder. The light illuminated a row of metal shelving units lining the walls. They were packed. But not with household items. On the left, there were crates. Green, military-style crates stacked floor to ceiling. Some were open. Inside, nestled in foam cutouts, were firearms. Not hunting rifles. Assault rifles. Black, sleek, and terrifyingly modern. On the right, there were rows of clear plastic bins. They were filled with vacuum-sealed bags of white powder. Bricks of it. Is that? I started, but my voice failed. Drugs, Mark finished for me. And guns. A lot of guns. He moved the light further. In the corner, there was a workbench. On it sat a reloading press, scales, and a stack of passports. I stepped into the room, drawn by a morbid, terrifying curiosity. I looked at the passports. They all had the same photo. A man with a thick beard and cold eyes. But the names were different. Alan Smithy. John Doe. Robert Vane. That's him, I said, pointing to the photo. That's Mr. Black. The host. He's running a cartel out of an Airbnb, Mark hissed. He's using the house as a stash house. Why? I asked, my brain racing. Why rent it out? Why have people here? Mark looked at me. His face was pale in the harsh LED light. Cover, he said. Think about it. If the house is empty, neighbors notice people coming and going. But if it's an Airbnb? Random cars, random people, suitcases rolling in and out every weekend? It's the perfect camouflage. Nobody questions a stranger with a bag at a rental property. We're the mules, I realized, a cold shiver running down my spine. We aren't just guests. We're the disguise. We have to go, Mark said, grabbing my arm. We have to leave right now. If he has cameras in here. He shined the light up to the corner of the room. A small, black dome camera blinked red. Recording. He knows, Mark said. He knows we're in here. We scrambled out of the room. Mark shoved the bookshelf closed until it clicked. Get your stuff, he ordered. Don't pack. Just grab your keys and your wallet. We run. I ran back to my side of the house. I grabbed my purse. I left the suitcase. I didn't care about my clothes. I cared about not getting shot by a drug lord landlord. I met Mark in the driveway. We didn't even say goodbye. We jumped into our respective cars. Police station. Mark shouted through his window as he started his engine. Meet me there. I floored it. Gravel sprayed behind my tires as I peeled out onto the main road. I checked my rearview mirror constantly, expecting a black SUV to be tailing me. We arrived at the county sheriff's station 20 minutes later. We ran inside, breathless and frantic. We need help, I told the desk sergeant. We found a stash house. The sergeant looked bored. Slow down, ma'am. What kind of stash? Guns, Mark said, leaning on the counter. Automatic weapons. And drugs. Kilos of it. Hidden in a secret room behind a bookshelf at 404 Pine Ridge Road. The sergeant's eyes narrowed. He picked up his radio. Captain? You might want to come out here. Within an hour, we were sitting in an interview room with 2 detectives and a DEA agent who just happened to be in the building for a task force meeting. We showed them the listing. We showed them the photos of the bookshelf we managed to take before we ran. We described the passports. Mr. Black, the DEA agent muttered, looking at the photo of the host profile. We've been looking for a distribution hub in that county for 6 months. We thought it was a warehouse. We never checked the rentals. He's watching, I said. He has cameras. He saw us find it. Then we move now, the captain said. SWAT is rolling. They asked us to stay at the station for safety. We sat there, drinking terrible coffee, watching the clock ticking on the wall. 2 hours later, the captain came back in. He looked grim but satisfied. We got him, he said. He was there? Mark asked. He showed up about 10 minutes after you left, the captain said. He was trying to clean out the room. He was loading the crates into a van. We caught him in the driveway. Did you find the drugs? I asked. We found everything, the captain nodded. Enough fentanyl to kill the entire state. 50 unregistered firearms. And a ledger. A literal paper trail of his buyers. He was using the guests, Mark said. Wasn't he? According to his preliminary statement? The captain sighed. Yes. He said having legitimate traffic made the neighbors comfortable. He said nobody suspects a tourist. He used us, I whispered. He put us in danger. You were never in immediate danger, the captain tried to reassure us. Unless you found the room. Which you did. You too, you probably saved a lot of lives today. If that shipment had gone out. He shook his head. We're going to need you to testify, the DEA agent added. About the booking. About the hidden doors. It establishes the timeline and the intent to conceal. I'll testify, Mark said. Me too, I agreed. The aftermath was a whirlwind. Airbnb refunded us immediately. They banned the host, obviously, and sent a legal team to help us with relocation costs, which was corporate speak for, please don't sue us. Mr. Black, real name Robert Vane, was charged with drug trafficking, illegal weapons possession, and money laundering. He's looking at life in prison. The story hit the news. Tourists uncover cartel hub in vacation rental. I saw my own review of the property on the screen during a news segment. Private. Quiet. Perfect getaway. The irony wasn't lost on me. I met Mark for coffee a week later. We were both still shaken, but bonding over a shared trauma has a way of creating fast friendships. Did you get your stuff back? Mark asked. The police released the house yesterday, I said. I went back to get my suitcase. It was weird. Being there again. Did you see the bookshelf? They tore it down, I said. The police ripped the walls apart looking for more hidden compartments. The house is a shell. Good, Mark said. It should be condemned. We sat in silence for a moment. You know, Mark said, stirring his latte. I was looking for privacy. I wanted to be alone. Me too, I smiled. Well, he raised his cup. We were definitely alone. Together. I clinked my cup against his. To accidental roommates, I said. And to checking the walls, he added. I still travel. I still use Airbnb. But now, when I check in, I don't just look for cleanliness. I don't just check the view. I check the bookshelves. I push on the mirrors. I tap the walls. Because you never know what private really means until you find the door that wasn't supposed to be there. And sometimes, the scariest thing isn't being alone in a strange house. It's finding out you were never alone at all. So, tell me. Am I the monster for snooping around a rental property and sending my host to prison, or did I just find the one amenity that wasn't listed in the brochure?
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss another story like this.